So we're picking what's left of our peas at this point.
Wait, do you want to help me? Make another fire for me! This pile's for Peter. I'm Blanch, sorry. Oh, sorry, that's why I picked from the inside. This one can go straight to the pile. This one's pea plant on. And now there's two.
Good job, Peter. We just finished our last batch of soup, so that's cooling off in the corner. I'm waiting. I've got to give it 2 minutes, tighten down the lids and cover them. But I've got our water boiling for our peas. So we've got all of our peas here. We finished shelling them. We washed them. And now we need to blanch them. If you're going to freeze them, you need to blanch them. And if you're going to dehydrate them, you'll need to blanch them. So I'm going to blanch these for 4 minutes, then dip them in really cold water, just like we did the cauliflower and broccoli, and then we'll get them going in the dehydrator. We're going to dehydrate these for 10 hours. At 125 degrees. After about 2 hours or so, it's a good idea to stir them up, kind of mix them around a little bit just to help make sure they're spread in an even layer there. I don't know if you can tell, I try to do them in a single layer, but mixing them around just helps ensure that they're drying evenly. And I'll probably do that about twice through this drying process. Are all the way done. I've pulled them out of the dehydrator. The first thing you want to do is make sure they get to room temperature, and then you can put them in your jars. For these, we're going to put them on the counter just like we did the spinach and kale, and we're just going to turn it or shake it at least once to twice a day. I do first thing in the morning and just before bed. It's just easy to remember that way. You'll want it in an airtight container. These ones are just stainless steel lids. They've got little silicone seals in them, and they've worked perfectly fine for me. You can put these in tighter bags, but I would wait until, if you're gonna try to like vacuum seal these, I would wait until after the 5 to 10 days of shaking them, because again, you don't want any moisture pockets. When you go to put these in your jar though, make sure that all of them are dry, because if you have some really fat peas, sometimes those don't get all the way dry and may need a little bit longer. So just be careful of that. But for the week, I'm really pleased with where we're at. We got 5 gallons of broccoli and cauliflower froze. We got 45 quarts of the greens and beans soup, and we've almost finished all of our kale. Everything else we're pulling from the garden. We've got a pretty busy week this upcoming week, pulling what's left and getting our next set of stuff planted. So right now, the only things left for us to plant, I've got a couple tomato plants to plant and mostly beans. So we're gonna be planting a lot of beans this upcoming week, and hopefully that will get our the next set of summer crops going for us. Here's a look at our corn and everything else that's come in. I'm really pleased with how it's doing so far and can't wait to see how this corn turns out for the year. Look back in there.
Wow!
Do you see how huge it is? You might have to move some of the leaves out of the way so we can see too. These are those mammoth beets.
Can I pick
You can see these. No, it's not ready to pick yet.
Ah.
They get even bigger, but if you can see that, they are a pretty good size. Most of them are still a little bit smaller, but you can see they're getting a good size to them.
Jenny! Come see these things!
They're big, aren't they? Are your mammoth beets?
Look at that one.
Yeah. They're good. It's kind of hard to tell down there, but
Are they done?
no, they're not done yet, but they're getting big.
That's coming out of the ground? They're done.
Yeah, these ones, the Mammoth Beets, they grow up out of the ground.
Whoa, look, that was pushing itself out of the ground a lot. See that big one down there? It's like 2 inches out.
It is. It's really big. We're going to be pulling our lettuce. As you can see, a lot of that has started to bolt. So we're going to be pulling that out this weekend.
Oh. This weekend?
Yep, this weekend.
Which is tomorrow?
Yep, tomorrow. And our onions, if you see this happen to your onions, you'll want to take care of them. They will form little, kind of like garlic scapes, but for onions. And you'll want to break this off. It's basically them trying to go to flour. And if it stays, yep, I'll let you break it off.
What happens?
There you go.
Done.
If it stays, the bulb won't grow as big. You can see the bulbs down here starting to form. They shouldn't be too much longer. Yeah, those are kind of like the seeds for it. You can give it to the chickens or the pigs. You can eat them with just one. I'm not going to really bother with it, but
Can we eat them?
they wouldn't taste very good.
Mushrooms over here.
Yeah, we got about 3 or 4 inches of rain last night. So we've got mushrooms coming up everywhere today. So here's a peek at our garlic. They're getting really close to being ready to harvest. I don't think they really have that much longer. But as you can see, they're starting to form what's called garlic scapes. And these we're going to be pulling off because you don't want them to grow. If you're leaving them for a perennial bed, you can let them grow. But if you're going to be harvesting the garlic, then it's going to take away from the growth of the garlic bulb. So we're going to cut those off, take them in, and dehydrate them. All we've got to do is wash them off, cut them up into about 1/4 inch pieces, and stick them into the dehydrator. Some of the sunflowers the kids planted have started to bloom. I think this is the first one, at least it's the first one I've seen. And what's left of you can see some of the tomato plants coming up here. These were the ones that were all volunteers. I kind of just let them go because I'm not really going to pester with them too much. But the broccoli and cabbage leaves and cauliflower leaves that are left through here, we're going to be taking those out and giving them to the pigs. We've kind of got to pull through them. I'm going to pull the nice ones and save those for canning, but as you can see, a lot of them have gotten cabbage moths and cabbage worms are in them, so they're not really any good at this point. But the pigs and chickens will be happy to get those. Here's a peek at everything we had planted the other week. On the very end over there are the sunflowers coming in, all the corn we planted, some of the cucumbers we planted, this little row of peanuts we're testing out, and then all of our tomato plants. We've got a couple rows of those. With the corn, if you plan on planting what they consider the three sisters, corn, squash, and beans together, you'll want to give your corn a couple weeks head start. As you can see, these ones have gotten a good height to them. So at this point, it's safe for me to go back and plant some squash or other items like beans in with them. The main thing is, if you plant them all together, the beans and the squash particularly will take over and won't allow space for the corn to grow. We're going to go through and transplant some of the squash we had started in there now that these have gotten a good size to them. I don't know that we're going to plant them in as heavily as you typically do the three sisters, mostly just because I did these rows closer together and I don't think it'll be really enough room for them if I do them too close. At this point in the year, it feels like everything is coming in all at once. We really have about 2, maybe 3 big waves of crops like this every year, where it feels like you just could not get enough work done in one day. It's not the worst. I try to space it out, and I could probably do better at spacing out our harvest, but it always seems to happen. You get to one point in the year, maybe 2 or 3 points in the year really, where you just get huge waves of harvest in, and you do everything you can to put them up. But it is what it is. I hope y'all's gardens are doing really well and look forward to seeing you next time.